President Trump has just announced he is canceling new strikes on Iran that were planned for tonight. The president made the announcement in a social media post just about a half hour ago. He cited progress on peace talks with countries in the region. It's a stark turnaround from what the president was saying this morning.
We dropped $250 million worth of bombs on them last night. They're really in submission. They just don't know it yet.
President Trump had said earlier that he wanted to seize Karg Island, which serves as a terminal for nearly all of Iran's oil exports. The U.S. and Iran traded attacks for a second straight day. Earlier, or on Wednesday, I should say, the strikes coming after the downing of an Army helicopter by an Iranian drone. Joining us now, NBC News international correspondent Matt Bradley in Qatar and NBC News White House correspondent Monica Alba. Monica, frankly, it's a little head-spinning. What more do we know about this reversal by President Trump this afternoon?
Yeah, Kate, and look, we've been here before. There is this familiar pattern that we have seen of the president making a threat. Sometimes he does act on it, sometimes he doesn't, then saying that there is perhaps a diplomatic breakthrough that is imminent. Sometimes it comes, sometimes it doesn't, and then we kind of start all over again. So it's a little bit unclear which this is right now, I have to be honest with you, but it is the president's way of trying to indicate that there has been some progress. Again, we have heard that many, many times over the course of the last 13 weeks, and certainly over the course of the last few months when there has been a sort of fragile and shaky ceasefire in place. But the fact that the president even just earlier today said he was planning to hit Iran tonight very hard, threatening to potentially use U.S. forces, which is what it would require, we think, to take Karg Island, to now back away from that. We haven't gotten the exact indication from the White House what actually changed. But if you look at his True Social post, when he does mention some of these Gulf allies and other countries in the region that have signed off on this, he says the real question is what exactly has been signed off on here by senior Iranian leadership that he says, again, at the highest level of that, have agreed to this in addition to what the president has. But we don't know what that agreement is, whether it is short term, whether it really just kicks off an intensive period of actual negotiations, or where we really are in this reality of this moment. Kate.
Well, and Matt, given everything Monica just said, I'm sure it's a little unclear where you are, too, but the president did name 10 countries in the region in his post and said discussions and final points for a deal have been agreed to by those countries. Are we hearing anything about those countries?
Well, I wish I could tell you that we are, but I think everybody in these countries, and Qatar is one of them, a major interlocutor when it comes to all of these negotiations, trying to find a negotiated solution to this crisis. I think everybody here is feeling exactly like Monica just mentioned, scratching their heads, reading that Truth Social post and wondering what is going on. I can tell you that there have been feverish negotiations by the Qataris and by all of these countries in the Gulf. The Qataris had sent a delegation to Iran yesterday, to Tehran, and I understand from my conversations with sources here in Qatar that they returned early this morning after marathon all-night meetings trying to find a solution. We also know that some of these Gulf countries had huddled in Bahrain over just the past couple of days, also trying to find a negotiated solution. Now, what do these countries all have to do with the fate of the Iran conflict? Well, they have all been on the beating end of Iran's attacks. So whenever the U.S. attacks, it's countries like this one, Qatar or Kuwait or Bahrain, who get it the worst.
We thank you for watching. And remember, stay updated on breaking news and top stories on the NBC News app or watch live on our YouTube channel.